Welcome to a Healthy Living video blog at workoutmaster.com. This is Ruben.
And that's Aram.
Today we're going to talk about fine-tuning your diet is exceptionally important. Let's tear this one apart.
Absolutely. It's very important that you realize that, certain changes that you go from one macronutrient to the other can make the body change or react in a certain fashion. And it's very important to identify that because that's going to help you when you identify your symptoms or how you're reacting to the food that you're eating, when you're making changes, increasing or decreasing macronutrients, they're going to give you a reaction. And that reaction is very important to know exactly where it is and where it comes from in order to make sure that the fine-tuning is actually working for you.
As you know, we recommend recording what you eat. If you actually keep a diet record of the foods that you consume, then you can actually look through the diet record and make an adjustments that are working for you. So fine-tuning is a part of working with your own diet records. Obviously, you cannot fine-tune anything if you're not recording anything unless you're absolutely amazing and you can keep all the information within your head, which is very unusual. But what happens is when you record, you're going to find how much carbs, how much fat, and how much protein you consumed. Yeah? So it will be a ratio, it will be a percentage between fat, protein, and carbs.
Right.
Now, we're all unique individuals. We all have a very unique requirements, regardless of which diet you follow or which strategy you follow. Nonetheless, you would want to make it perfect for yourself.
Well, and not only that, is that you're not always going to be eating at home. Sometimes you're obligated, like we are oftentimes, you go to dinners and lunches and stuff like that,
exactly,
with clients and with other people. And the food that they might present you with might not be your ideal ratio because you didn't cook it yourself, or somebody like Aaron comes over to my house, or I come over to his house, and we know exactly how pretty much we eat, so we approximate things pretty well. But when you go to a restaurant, they just put food in front of you, and then you have to begin to assess what happens. The instance being that, sometimes you go there and they put a little bit too much of one particular macronutrient, and then you end up eating it. And what the reaction is should tell you, it should give you actually very good information, knowing how you have to adjust things. So opening yourself to those situations is actually a good chance to learn, to really fine-tune, because you're actually going to be able to listen to what your body's telling you.
So first rule with the fine-tuning, you would want to keep your amount of foods or different kind of foods to a minimum. So hopefully you just have one carb, one fat, one protein. Yeah?
Right.
That way there's not a lot of variables going on.
Right. It's also worth it to mention that when you have foods that are very complicated, that have many ingredients, it might be difficult to separate what's what and how. Obviously, we know what's what. Obviously, a vegetable is always going to be a vegetable. You're not going to confuse it for turkey or for beef. But what I'm saying is that since everything's kind of mushed up like in a stew and stuff like that, unless you know how many ingredients you put in there, it's going to be very difficult to be able to separate it.
Absolutely. So you keep ingredients to the minimum. Then what you're going to do is there's a certain reaction when you overconsume carbohydrates.
Yeah, I think that's important to make people know, what are the simple symptoms to overconsuming carbohydrate.
Go ahead, so tell me what it is.
Well, typically when you overconsume carbohydrate, what's going to happen is that you're going to get very jittery. You may feel good at the beginning while the body is surging up in energy, and all of a sudden you feel your pulses is really good and your energy is really, really good, but then it starts climbing like, I'm like, holy, this is getting too fast now. And you get jittery. That's basically the reaction. Almost similar to if you have a little bit too much of caffeine. All right?
Yes.
And you begin to get a little jittery, your hands don't feel, they have good tactile, function, and before you know it, you have overspilled with consumption of carbohydrate.
Absolutely.
So
the best way to avoid that particular reaction as soon as you feel it is to have some fat and protein in your mouth right away.
But if let's say that you had too much carbohydrate and too much fat already for that particular meal, and you don't want to overdo eating.
So next time, you just pay attention.
That's it. That's all you can do. It says, well, I screwed up that one. Let me make sure that I don't do it again, or to the best of my ability, of course.
And if you overdo fat or protein, you're generally going to feel very tired. Pretty much right away. You're going to be very sleepy. You do going to end up low blood sugar chances because a lot of consumption of high protein diet will have a high ability to get you low blood sugar.
Right.
So the same thing you do is if you feel that way, probably having something with the sugar will lift up your energy.
That's correct. Notice that, for example, when you overconsume fat is going to slow the rate at which you do digest food. So that in itself will prevent the entrance for energy into the cells. So suddenly you will feel like your energy is not where it needs to be. And that's one of the reasons that If you overconsume fat, you will not feel your best. So that has to be adjusted. You have to have some type of a record of what you're doing, because people say, oh, I eat plenty of fat. The fact of the matter may be that you don't. So you need to know by actually keeping a food line.
Absolutely.
If you're over protein, it's going to knock your blood sugar down, because protein will have an effect on your insulin. And if the insulin is, gets surged through the body more than your body needs, it will scavenge all the sugar, and all of a sudden, low blood sugar you go. You're not going to feel great.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
I think those are very simple and yet easy steps to follow that will give you a good indication of what you're doing to yourself, not anybody else. Mm-hmm. And that will actually, they're really good tools that you can actually follow by when you keep your diet record sheet or the form of nutritional log that you might follow to identify what is the underlying issue of you every day to day or meal to meal basis of how you feel.
And guys, I'm just going to add a link underneath the episode where you can download a diet record and you can pretty much just do it yourself process.
Yep.
If you have any questions, comments, please feel free. We're always available. Remember, if you fine tune your diet, then your future looks better already. If you share this episode with your family and friends, their future looks better too. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time.